It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10. Our top story, the Gaza ceasefire under strain. Israel launches a wave of strikes in the south of the territory and says 2 soldiers have been killed. Israel halts the supply of aid into Gaza as both sides accuse each other of breaking the ceasefire. Also tonight, a derby match between rival teams Hapoel Tel Aviv and Maccabi Tel Aviv has been cancelled after riots broke out. Israeli police say the disorder posed a risk to human life. Daylight robbery. Thieves snatch priceless Napoleonic jewels in a daring 4-minute heist at the Louvre. The Met Police examines claims Prince Andrew asked one of its officers to dig up dirt on the woman who accused him of sexual assault. We hear from the father who says his daughter would still be alive if she hadn't been sent to failing mental health hospitals.
Was, dare I say it, like a prison. Keep her safe, but not give her any quality of life. Take that all away from her.
Cricket's most famous umpire, Dicky Bird, is honoured in his hometown as he's laid to rest. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30. Good evening. The Israel-Gaza ceasefire is in a fragile state tonight, with both sides having spent the day accusing each other of breaching the peace deal. Earlier, Israel launched a wave of strikes on southern Gaza after its troops came under fire from Hamas militants. The IDF says 2 Israeli soldiers were killed and 3 wounded in the territory. The IDF says militants attacked its troops in Rafah city beyond the Yellow Line, denoting the area where Israeli troops have withdrawn to. Israel now says it will halt the supply of aid to Gaza until further notice. It's being seen as a major test of the US-brokered ceasefire, with both sides accusing the other of violating the truce. Tonight, Israel's military has said it has begun what it calls a renewed enforcement of the ceasefire after it was violated by Hamas. Sally Lockwood reports from Jerusalem.
The ceasefire is still in place on paper, but the skyline over Khan Yunis tells a different story. As do the ambulances arriving at Al-Aqsa Hospital. These casualties are said to have been hit in a drone strike at a coffee shop in central Gaza. People were there to use the internet. At least 5 of them are now reportedly killed and many more injured. This strike hit an area the Israeli military agreed to vacate under the ceasefire conditions. And Israel's confirmed it's now struck dozens of Hamas targets throughout the Gaza Strip.
Terrorists fired an anti-tank missile and gunfire towards our troops operating in the area of Rafah to dismantle terrorist infrastructure, all in accordance with the ceasefire agreement. Now, in response, the IDF began striking in the area to eliminate the threat.
Israel's since confirmed 2 IDF soldiers have been killed and 3 more injured. And these strikes, it seems, is retaliation. The IDF releasing footage of armed gunmen they say are approaching their troops in northern Gaza before they're hit by Israeli fire. When the ceasefire began 10 days ago, the Israeli military had withdrawn to a so-called yellow line within Gaza. Violations of this line are proving one of the most contentious and dangerous elements of the current arrangement. And Doctors Without Borders say the number of patients they're treating hasn't changed since the truce began.
We have an official capacity of 110 beds, and we have been consistently close to 170 patients for the last few weeks.
Now, this so-called yellow line, Caroline, at the moment, it's a line on a military map. It's not clearly marked on the ground. How dangerous is this proving?
At the emergency room of Al-Aqsa Hospital that we support, there our doctors are telling me that they have kept receiving patients who indeed approach that line too closely. On top of that as well, the other injuries that we continue seeing are people returning to their homes, including children picking up items that they do not know what it is that turn out to be an exploded ordnance and that explode in their hands as they touch them.
The children of Gaza continue to pay the price, caught between 2 sides still trading fire. Watching here as the digging for deceased hostages continues. Israel has warned more strikes could follow in a ceasefire that's growing more fragile by the hour. Sally Lockwood, Sky News, Jerusalem.
Well, let's speak to our Middle East correspondent, Adam Parsons, who's in Jerusalem for us tonight. So, Adam, what is the state of the ceasefire tonight, as far as you can tell?
You know, this whole Middle East peace process is like an extremely complicated mechanism. And today, all the parts of it moved around. An awful lot of things happened. And yet where we are tonight is probably in almost exactly the same position that we were in 24 hours ago. Despite all that acrimony, that sound and fury, there was really no trust and no goodwill at all between the Israelis and Hamas. So none has been lost and none has been gained. But the ceasefire is under strain. Now, there will be those who say it has survived, and that is a good sign. And there will be others who say it's been chipped away and actually it's like a fraying bit of rope. Eventually it'll snap. So if we just take a step back and look at all the bits that happened today and the differing perspectives on them, the Israelis say that there was an attack, an anti-tank missile that was fired at a unit who were doing engineering work as part of the ceasefire, and that killed 2 soldiers. The IDF, the Israeli military, has released biographical details and photographs, and these are senior figures, a major and a staff sergeant who were working there on the ground in Rafah, and a reserve soldier was also seriously wounded in that attack. Now, what then happened were reprisals, were airstrikes, and what they said were attacks on terrorist infrastructure, that it's hard to know how many people have been killed, but a significant number, certainly more than the 2 people who were killed from the Israeli military. There were also lots of other pieces. The Israelis said that they would stop aid going into Gaza. Hamas has sent a team led by Khalil al-Hayya, probably the de facto leader of Hamas, to speak to mediators in Cairo. And crucially, my understanding is that the Americans spoke to the Israelis earlier and said that they supported their right to respond, but reminded them it had to be proportional. Significant also because I understand that Steve Witkoff, joined potentially by Jared Kushner, are likely to be flying into Israel tomorrow to appraise the state of the ceasefire. In other words, I think Israel was told to slow down, was told not to go too far in this retaliatory measures, and that is why later on today we had this message from the Israeli military saying that they would start renewing the ceasefire. Now, what does that mean? Difficult to say. When you look at the actual black and white of the ceasefire agreement, it doesn't have that many terms in it, but almost all of them have been at least partly broken. So there's supposed to be an end of military activity. That hasn't happened. Humanitarian aid is supposed to be stepped up. That hasn't happened to the full extent that was planned. Hostages, dead and alive, are supposed to be fully returned. That hasn't happened either. So there are plenty of elements to this that remain open to doubt and open to question. You go into the ceasefire, actually, Hamas, there was a mechanism that clearly recognised the fact that Hamas might not be able to get all of the dead hostages, but that is still the meat of the Israeli government's assertion that Hamas is not playing a full part in this. I think the Israelis do listen to the Americans. Very clearly, Donald Trump is one of the very few allies that Benjamin Netanyahu has on the global stage, but he's also the most powerful man in the world. He's the person who's got almost the most invested politically in this ceasefire deal, and he will not want to see it fail. So when Witkoff and potentially Kushner come here tomorrow, I think that will be their message to Netanyahu, is that you've got to do everything you can to maintain this ceasefire. And remember, the second phase of this, at the moment, is still up for grabs, anyone's guess. But I think there's a feeling that they'll deal with that just as long as this first fragile phase is still intact.
Adam, thank you. And also some reports that J.D. Vance, the Vice President, could also be travelling to Israel. Thank you. Priceless jewellery has been stolen from the Louvre in Paris in a daylight heist that forced the closure of the famous museum. In just 4 minutes, thieves made off with 8 objects. Dropping a 9th, they tried to steal the Empress Eugénie crown, which was found broken at the scene. France's President Emmanuel Macron described it as an attack on cherished French heritage and said everything is being done everywhere to bring the perpetrators to justice. Sky's Europe correspondent Siobhan Robbins reports.
Brazen and in broad daylight, the thief in a hood and high-vis, part of a team carrying out an audacious heist at the Louvre. The robber is breaking into cabinets containing priceless jewels in video broadcast by our partners, BFM TV. In a matter of minutes, treasures worth an incalculable amount had been swiped from one of the most famous museums in the world as confused visitors were ushered out by frantic security.
Then we walked out of the room of the Mona Lisa. We went to the left in the direction of the French crown jewels. And there were security people, and they shouted to us, you have to move this place. You have to be quick, fast, run.
This is how the thieves got in. Shortly after the museum opened, they used a motorised ladder to get to the first floor, where they cut the glass and headed for the Apollo Gallery. A display housing treasures from Napoleon and French sovereigns. They smashed cabinets and gathered their swag before fleeing on scooters.
It must be said that these are professionals. Organised crime today targets art objects. And museums have obviously become targets because France, as you know, is a country with a rich heritage, a country with historical heritage objects of great value. And so these museums have also become targets for these criminals.
And this is what they made off with. 8 items, including a tiara, necklace and earrings belonging to a queen, and an empress's emerald earrings and necklace. But this tiara, owned by Empress Eugénie, was found dropped outside.
I think it's the theft of the decade, you know, targeting the Louvre, the world's most famous museum, and stealing the crown jewels from Napoleon. It's like the movies, you know. We have seen similar heists, but targeting the Louvre is next level. And it's a big scandal now in France, of course, losing the crown jewels. It's a big thing.
The French president has called the raid an attack on our heritage, as forensic teams worked to track down the masterminds.
You have to see it to believe it. A heist straight out of a Hollywood script on this busy tourist street. Just how did they get away with it?
A European manhunt is underway, but French authorities know time is against them. The gang could be trying to cross the border or melting down their loot as we speak.
In Tel Aviv, a derby match between the city's rival football teams, Hapoel Tel Aviv and Maccabi Tel Aviv, has been cancelled tonight after riots broke out. Israeli police said the disorder posed a risk to human life. The match was set to take place this evening in the city's Bloomfield Stadium, but disorder erupted in the venue ahead of kick-off. Tel Aviv police said the game at Bloomfield Stadium was cancelled following disturbances and violent riots. Dozens of smoke grenades and pyrotechnic devices were thrown, injuring 12 civilians and 3 police officers. Forces at the scene arrested 9 suspects and detained 16 others for questioning. Well, events in Tel Aviv have ratcheted up the tension back here surrounding the decision by West Midlands Police to ban fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv from going to their game against Aston Villa next month. The Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, told Sky's Trevor Phillips that there cannot be a situation where any area of the country is a no-go area for people of a particular religion. Here's our political correspondent, Tamara Cohen.
3 days since football fans from Tel Aviv were banned from attending a match in Birmingham, and the political row is still brewing.
Why this morning does the ban still stand?
Well, look, we are working with the relevant authorities on this issue. The best outcome we want to see is that this match goes ahead as normal with all of the fans there.
Is Aston now a no-go area for Jews?
No, and it can't be. And I'm very, very clear about that. And look, I believe we as a country pride ourselves on our diversity, but also our tolerance and our hatred of prejudice, frankly.
Villa fans in North London to watch their team play Tottenham Hotspur were talking about the decision to ban fans of the Israeli side from Villa Park, officially made on safety advice, but following campaigning by the pro-Gaza local MP, who cited strength of feeling about Israel.
I don't think politics belongs in football. I think it should just be a decision based on, obviously, the safety of our own fans, safety of everybody.
I think Westminster police are scared about everything to do with that. Just let the game go ahead, let the away fans come and let them enjoy the game.
Sport is sport, politics is politics, keep out of it, let them come. As long as they behave themselves, no problem at all.
It's quite a sad state of affairs when you've got the second city in Birmingham that can't peacefully hold a game of football because of how much division there is.
At a conference of Jewish and Muslim women looking to build bridges, a feeling that this is a wider debate about how to deal with tensions unleashed by October the 7th and the Gaza war.
This football match, to my mind, is not only about football, it's about the whole conflict playing out here. And to me, it does feel anti-Semitic. It does feel like Israel's being singled out here.
I don't think it has anything to do with football. It is to try to punish people who are perceived to be the enemy. What comes next? Could it be that Muslims aren't allowed to attend a football match because of the area that it's in? It's a slippery slope.
Discussions about the Villa match are ongoing, with West Midlands Police ordered by the Home Office to say what resources they'll need to keep the match safe. Either way, tensions are likely to be running high. Tamara Cohen, Sky News.
The Metropolitan Police says it's looking into claims made about Prince Andrew. It's been reported that he asked his bodyguard, who worked for the force, to help with an attempted smear campaign against the woman who accused him of sexual assault. It comes after Andrew surrendered his titles and honours following a series of revelations he says are distracting from the work of the royal family. Prince Andrew denies any wrongdoing. Thomas Moore reports.
The cosy relationship between Prince Andrew and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein is under close scrutiny. New documents leaked from the US Congress to the Mail on Sunday make a series of blistering allegations. According to the paper, the so-called Epstein files show the men swapped emails on how they could blacken the name of Virginia Giuffre, the young woman who had accused the prince of having sex with her, aged 17. It claims he obtained confidential data, including her social security number, which he passed on to his taxpayer-funded police protection officer to investigate her. And in other documents, the then Duchess of York allegedly asked Epstein to lend her up to $100,000 while he was under house arrest for child prostitution charges. Prince Andrew has consistently and vigorously denied allegations, but a biographer of the prince says the documents are damning.
To use the police to spy on other people, it's abuse of data protection and all sorts of rules. And, again, it's a sense of entitlement that because he might be able to do it, he did it. It's, again, a sign of a powerful person trying to subvert someone who might actually cause him embarrassment.
The swirling allegations against the prince threaten to overshadow the king's historic visit to the Vatican this week to pray with the Pope, a symbolic reconciliation between the Catholic Church and the Church of England. Virginia Giuffre's family has demanded that Andrew is stripped of his title as a prince, though as Queen Elizabeth's son, that is his legal right.
It was, at the time, I suppose, the view of the king that his brother, who was born to Elizabeth II, was born with the style of the Prince Andrew. And I think that as the first child born to Elizabeth II while she was queen, that style was quite special to the late Queen, and perhaps the King for the moment thinks that that can be left alone. It's a matter really for the King, for the royal household, and perhaps with the guidance and advice of government, which I'm sure that they are taking.
Awkwardly for the royal family, Prince Andrew will continue to live in a mansion in Windsor, a lease from the Crown Estate, not the King, that lasts until 2078.
The hope will be is that he goes quietly. He's not invited to Sandringham at Christmas. And obviously Fergie has been behaving disastrously as well. So they're very much persona non grata. And I think it's a question of hoping that they will stop distracting the good work of the monarchy and go quietly.
Sky News asked the Prince's office to comment on the new allegations against him, but had no response. The Metropolitan Police said it is actively looking into reports that officers were asked to dig into Virginie Giuffre's background. Her posthumous memoirs are published on Tuesday, and it will be another nightmarish week for the royals. Thomas Moore, Sky News.
The father of a woman who took her own life at the age of 22 says she'd still be alive if she hadn't been sent to a series of failing mental health hospitals. Hannah Aitken, who had autism and ADHD, was admitted to 6 different hospitals over a 4-year period, including the Huntercombe Hospital, Stafford, which was in special measures at the time. Our health correspondent, Laura Bundock, has the story, and a warning: it does contain references to suicide.
I think about Hannah every hour of every day, more than once every hour, every day. You know, that day will forever stamped in my mind.
Hannah Aitken was 22 when she took her own life. She had autism and ADHD and struggled with her mental health. She was sent to Huntercombe Hospital, Stafford, in 2017. The unit was in special measures when Hannah arrived.
I remember her phone call when she was at Stafford, because I think she had access to a brick phone. She was under a table. She was telling me, "I don't want to come out of this, Dad, I'm scared."
Sky News has exposed significant failings within the Huntercombe Group for many years. In 2023, following one of our investigations, Hannah got in touch to share her story. We voiced her words.
I will never forget what I was put through, and other patients. At the time, I didn't even realise it was abuse. I thought this is what everyone was put through, and that's what scares me. I put up with so much, and it's only now I realise it wasn't right. For years, I blamed myself.
Over 4 years, Hannah was treated in 6 different mental health hospitals. The majority were publicly funded and privately run. 3 were rated either inadequate or requires improvement. Of them, 2 were shut down while Hannah was a patient.
All they could do was almost, dare I say it, like a prison, keep her safe but not give her any quality of life. The mental health system took a significant part of her formative years away from her. Since Hannah passed, we see butterflies and we feel like that's her presence.
Hannah's death once more raises questions about why the NHS outsources mental health services to failing private providers. An NHS England spokesperson said the NHS has repeatedly made clear that all services must provide safe, high-quality care, irrespective of whether they're NHS or independent sector-led. And we continue to work closely with the CQC to monitor, identify and take appropriate action where it is needed. Ellie Investments Group, the owners of the Huntercombe Group until 2021, has said they regret these hospitals, which were independently managed, failed to meet expectations. Hannah bought poison online and took a fatal dose in September 2023. Her family warned the laws and regulations around poisons must be changed.
We'd never heard of this poison. We've got nephew and niece who are medics. They've not heard of this poison. And when you consider that 1 gram of this poison is lethal, we found out from Hannah's inquest, she ordered 1 kilogram of 99.6% purity. This is the tree that we planted in memory of Hannah where her trampoline used to be.
Some units like Huntercombe Hospital, Maidenhead have closed following reports by Sky News and others. But the harm done to Hannah was irreparable, and many others are still dealing with the damage caused by a dysfunctional system. Laura Bundock, Sky News.
And if you've been impacted by that story, you can call Samaritans on 116 123 or email joe@samaritans.org. 16 people have been deported to France under the UK's returns deal, bringing the total to 42. It comes as 369 people crossed the English Channel yesterday in 7 boats, pushing the total number this year to more than 36,000. The government has announced a new plan to train and recruit workers in the transition to clean energy. The new strategy outlines how the government will deliver more than 400,000 extra jobs in the sector by 2030, doubling the existing number. 5 technical excellence colleges will be set up to train workers with clean energy skills, and oil and gas workers will be able to benefit from up to £20 million for careers training in clean energy roles. The cricket community has said a final goodbye to the legendary umpire Dicky Bird at his funeral in his hometown of Barnsley. He died last month, aged 92, following a long and illustrious career in his beloved sport. Former England cricketers Sir Geoffrey Boycott and Michael Vaughan were amongst those to pay tribute. Sky's Katerina Vitozzi was there.
Eccentric but genuine, comedic and lovable is how Dicky Bird's lifelong friends described him today. Cricket's most famous umpire, honoured in his Yorkshire hometown, remembered by some of the sport's biggest names.
That's the great thing. He didn't know he was going to be a great umpire because he'd been an average county cricketer because of his nerves. He became a great umpire and great with people. Because when you've got big strapping fast bowlers getting cross, getting annoyed, he just had a knack of making them smile and making them laugh. And that's a gift, you can't teach it.
A miner's son, Dicky Bird played cricket for Barnsley alongside Sir Geoffrey Boycott and broadcaster Sir Michael Parkinson. He then played for Yorkshire, but it was later as an umpire that he excelled. Charismatic and kind, he was loved by fans and respected by players.
You know, from a young player playing with him umpiring, he was always great to talk to. Then he was always so positive, even at times, and there was many times when I wasn't scoring too many runs, he'd always say, "Oh, you're playing great." He'd always give you that positive kind of twist. And then obviously when I became a broadcaster, he was always at Headingley, and you know, whether it was for an international game, a Yorkshire game, Dicky was always at Headingley, so he's going to be greatly missed.
But his personality transcended sport. Dicky was invited to many receptions by the late Queen, wined and dined by politicians too. He also raised hundreds of thousands of pounds for charities, helping babies and young people in particular. The whole funeral service has been broadcast on these loudspeakers outside the church. It means that everyone who's gathered here has been able to feel part of the service, because Dicky Bird wasn't just the world's most famous umpire, he was also a true son of Barnsley. He was granted the freedom of the town in the year 2000, which he quipped meant that he could drive sheep through the high street, but didn't entitle him to free parking. Dicky Bird died at 92 and planned this funeral himself. The exit music, My Way, by Frank Sinatra, summing up a man who was truly one of a kind. Katerina Vitozzi, Sky News, Barnsley.
Time now to get the latest sports news from Chris.
Staying connected is vital for business. Sky Business sponsors this report.
Typical Toure, absolutely brilliant. Yaya Toure tries to place it and does. Yaya Toure may just have delivered the Premier League title as well.
When I started from my academy, I always loved goals. During my career, he was thinking about me not defending or running backwards, but I always keep in my mind always in the same way, like enjoying football, share that with fans, and be happy with something, you know what I mean? Because I've never been happy chasing people. I've always been happy when people chasing me. I was playing midfielder, and sometimes I have to do my duty as defending, try to protect the defense, the fullbacks. But it's only one ball. Two guys can do that. Me, I have to attack, and I've always been obsessed with goal.
You're a product of the ASIC Academy in the Ivory Coast. It's produced loads of amazing players.
What was special about that academy specifically?
Yeah, it's pure about football and passion than desire, you know. And at a young age, we learn tactics, but we were more technical. We learn as well about different position as well, playing the games, because in our development as well and education, we know we're gonna face different coach during our career, and we need to adapt. When I arrived in the academy, for 2 years, I've been playing without shoes, learning degrees, learning touching balls, skills my feet, understanding all the area of my feet. My feet was getting hurt. If I take my shoes now and you see my feet is a bit ugly. When I learned how to control my feet without shoes on it and understand the ball clearly, purely, skin to the ball, is different.
The kind of famous story is about you going to Arsenal for the trial. Tell me about that.
The idea was Arsene Wenger was encouraging the CEO of Belgium clubs to keep me here in Belgium for one more years to complete the Belgium passport, and after that I can come back. Because at that time I was not European. I need to have a European passport. And for me, that last of time was too much for me. When I was in Ukraine, it was a transition, like I was alone. There I started to learn more about myself, how resilient I am in terms of adapt myself. No one speaks English, they speak Russian. And me, I was speaking French and a little bit broken English. Now I go to the point that I have to go to school, I have to learn, I have to understand. And at that some period of the day, I cannot go out of the house from 4 p.m.
Why?
Because they're not used to see. And it can be dangerous, you know what I mean? Because there have been some problems in there in the past when I was there. Some students went to Ukraine to study, and they've been able to go to the clubs, but that's what the clubs tell me, to not go out. It was tough for me, but it was the learning as well. That's where I start to discover and understand the world. That's what I'm talking about. I think this move, at the time I was thinking it was wrong, but now I realize it was right.
If there's ever going to be a legend at this club, then it's this man. You have to have, first of all, to be a legend, a tremendous amount of talent. You need to have longevity. And then you need to be there in key moments. And I just want to remind a few of them. First league winning title, 2 goals against Newcastle, Yaya Tour again. Second league title, Crystal Palace away, Yaya Tour again. League Cup final against Liverpool, Yaya Tour. And if you're not going to be a legend with that, you're never going to be a legend. Thank you again, Yaya.
For you, what?
Sky Business sponsors this report.
Well, that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview. When we come back, I'll be joined by columnist at The Independent, James Rampton, and City AM opinion and features editor, Alice Denby. Amongst the stories we'll be discussing, this, Prince Andrew on the front of the Metro, their headline. And when he was down, he was down. Do stay with us, we'll be right back.